So this video is going to be all about the guns of the game. I'm not for the guns specifically. So, here's how you earn guns. You'll start the game with 4 guns, 1 in each category. You will unlock guns as random drops by beating the mission, all of the missions, for standard and intense. You can also purchase guns from Sergeant Park. They introduced 4 new ones that are very expensive. We're not covering those guns, and we're not going to cover the intense difficulty guns. Just the standard guns you do unlock from purchasing from him and from beating the normal campaign, which is pretty standard. The game has a bit of a gun problem. There are 4 classes of weapons, and what class you're playing determines what guns you can use. Rifles can be used by every class except the Phalanx and the Technician. So, 4 classes can use the rifles. Heavies can only be used by the Demolisher. So, 1 class. Close quarters weapons are used by the Gunner, the Technician, the Recon, and the Phalanx. So, 4 classes. And handguns are used by the Technician, the Doc, and the Phalanx. So 3 classes. So, this is to give you an idea on balance. Let's talk about balance first. This is not including the alternate RPG that is locked behind intense difficulty and the new minigun. Alright? So barring those 2, here are your available options. You have the Smart Gun, which is an auto-aim tracking machine gun. It's a good weapon for clearing out large crowds, but you will run out of ammo for it a lot. This is the starting gun that you get. It's the best gun out of the class. By far. It is versatile in all situations. It's good for clearing out crowds. It's good for focusing a lot of fire onto a target. It does have good auto-aim on it. It's all around a good gun. Now, the number 2 gun, in my opinion, is the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher only has 3 shots in it before it has to be reloaded, and it does not have a large carrying capacity. It is mostly going to be used as a boss killer. Warrior comes, you shoot it with a rocket. That's what this is good for. If you have a large enough crowd, you can run this. The downside to these 3 weapons is all the fact that whatever is in your rifle slot, you're going to be using a lot for basic crowd control. If the enemy is not throwing like spitters, warriors, drones, praetorians, crushers, if they're not throwing bigger threats at you, if it's just like prowlers, bursters, and runners, don't worry about it. You're not breaking that out unless there's a massive cluster you need to blow up. Other than that, it's a decent gun for what it does, though. This can reliably 1 or 2 clip most bosses, even on higher difficulties. On higher difficulties, this is a must-have if it's running as a designated boss killer. On the flip side, the next gun I would recommend, also in the same tier, the B tier, is the Vulcan, which is a heavy flamethrower. This has a large amount of ammo for it. It's a close-range, only massive flamethrower. You spray and pray. Good gun for clearing out crowds. It's terrible for bosses. I would not recommend this on bosses. Maybe the Crusher. Crusher has some weird interaction with fire damage. Don't use it on anybody else. This is the gun you're going to use for clearing out. Like if you want to make your rifle class as your boss killer, then make the Vulcan your side weapon. I don't like either of the grenade launchers. These are the bottom 2. So one of them is a contact impact launcher. It deals less damage than the bouncing grenade launcher does, but that's because it explodes on contact. So you just shoot it at a wall or at a group, and it explodes and deals a little bit of damage. Relatively shorter explosion radius as well, but it's effective. It's not really great against the fast-moving targets, and it's not that impactful against the bigger targets. The bouncing grenade is useless because it's on a timer, so you're not using this on crowds. You're mostly going to use this to flush out, like, spitters, prowlers, things of that nature. Both of these, in my opinion, just are very specialized tools for dealing with certain enemies. I am not a fan of them. So about handguns. Also, ignore the EVA laser here, because that is one of the new weapons. I don't want to call that a DLC weapon, but that's one of the new weapons. Of these 6 weapons, your starting weapon is the Kramer 550 mag. It is the best gun in the class. All 4 of the starter weapons that you get are the best weapon in their class. I do like that. The rest are variation. The downside of this weapon is that it is a low capacity, low rate of fire weapon that deals very high damage per shot, especially on headshot multiplier. If you don't kill the target, it's got a high stumble chance, so it buys you a second or 2 for a follow-up shot. But it's a very precise weapon. Very precise weapon. It's incredibly effective for killing stuff at range if your other weapon is designed for close combat. This is a sniper handgun. It is very powerful. For the B tier, right behind it, you can take your pick between the short barrel, the auto pistol, or the combat pistol, depending on what you're running. And then these 2 are pretty bad. So, if you are running a long-range weapon, like say you're on recon and you're playing a sniper, or, well, say you're on dock and you're playing a sniper, you bring the Kramer short barrel. It is essentially a hand cannon. It's a mini shotgun. It's a 4-shot shotgun pistol. It's reloaded 1 bullet at a time, just like a pump action shotgun is. It's good for what it does. I would say that the issue I have with this gun is it isn't as impactful as a shotgun. It's a 2-shot kill on the standard difficulty, on things like prowlers and bursters. It's mostly the thing that you run if you want like a shotgun but you don't have a close quarters slot. If you have a handgun instead of a close quarters, like if you're on phalanx or if you're on dock, then you run this. But even then, the phalanx can run shotgun. But if you want to run an SMG, it's a decent gun though. It's decent. I do like it. It's not by any means great, but it's decent. In the same regard as the automatic option is the auto pistol. This is basically a mini SMG. The recoil on it's insane. However, if you can control it in short spurts, it's pretty good. It's a high rate of fire option. So this is, if you can't bring like an SMG or a rifle type weapon on, say, your dock, let's say, again, you're playing a sniper and the dock and you want to bring this, or if you're playing technician with a shotgun and you want more range, you can run this and have a decent automatic fallback tool. For a close range build, it's great for just pulling out and just holding down the trigger if you get jumped by like a warrior. At long range against like runners, it's not great, but it can be serviceable if you tap fire it well enough. Again, it's like the Kramer, it's a decent option. A lot of people love the combat pistol. I'm kind of in the minority on this. It kind of bridges the gap between the Magnum and the shotgun pistol. It's a high rate of fire, it's a fast reload, it's decent damage per shot. I simply don't like that this gun, it feels weaker than the Magnum. I'd rather run the Magnum for the sheer stopping power that it has. But it has a faster rate of fire option. The only class I really see this weapon being viable on is the Phalanx, because the Phalanx doesn't have a very rapid fire option outside of the auto pistol. So this is like, if you want something that's a bit more accurate and impactful at long range, you run the combat pistol. Other than that, I think that this gun is just a slightly weaker version of the Magnum. It's got more ammo, it's got a faster rate of fire, but it doesn't hit as hard. That's the thing I don't like about it. If you play the Magnum as much as I play with the Magnum, you're not going to play that. The 2 shit guns in this class are the Twin Hammer and the Rapid Responder. The Rapid Responder is a shotgun pistol where it's a pistol with a spread on it. It has a lot of pellets, but a low damage per pellet. Not as good as the Kramer. The Kramer is much better. Especially if you can get the Kramer leveled up to tier 3 where you get the extra projectile, it becomes better. Rapid Responder is not worth it. It doesn't fire that fast. It doesn't reload that fast. I just don't like this weapon. I ran this weapon. I literally stopped using this gun halfway through the mission. I never pulled it back out again. I reloaded it one time, and then I just, like, switched, just so I had it ready if I needed to fall back to it, if I ran out of ammo. I didn't care. I did not like this gun. I think this might be one of the worst guns in the game that's not a sniper. They have the Twin Hammer. Twin Hammer is nice. It's basically a Magnum, but it's basically the combat pistol, but it fires in 2-round bursts. Now, the main issue with this is by default it has a 10-round magazine, which means you actually only have 5 trigger pulls on this gun. I do not like this gun. It does not do enough damage to compensate for the loss of ammo. Recoil's insane, too, on the 2 shots. It's relatively easy to control once you get the hang of it, but this is another gun that I, used a couple of times and then put it on the back burner and said, I'm not touching this weapon again. I'm just not a fan of it. It's weaker than both the combat pistol and the Magnum. It's a nice gimmick weapon if I want to run, a burst fire type build. If I want to run the burst rifle and the twin hammer on my dog, it's like, haha, I have burst fire. Burst fire in this game tends to burn more ammo than just having a good trigger finger. It's definitely better than the rapid responder because it does hit relatively hard. I would say that this gun, if you mod it on weak point damage, although that is one of its weaker stats, believe it or not, is weak point damage, it's 255 as opposed to 280. Most of the decent handguns are 280 on weak point damage. This is 255 because it is the 2 burst. It's good for warriors and crushers when you just are just pelting them with bullets in the dome. Other than that, it's not great. Now, close quarters weapons have a lot of good options, although they have a lot of specialized options. So first off, this is the DLC weapon right here. I want to mention that. This is the one DLC weapon that this game has. You only get this by purchasing the $10 pack that gives you a bunch of cosmetic shit plus this gun. I don't mind this gun. It's not worth $10. It is not, if you're buying that DLC just for the gun, it's a waste of $10. First off, this is the gun that you get at the start of the game. This is the best close quarters gun in the game. It's the pump action shotgun. It has amazing range, it has amazing damage, it has a relatively fast reload, and it hits like a fucking Mack truck. Now, it has less stumble chance, and it has less weak point damage than other guns. And by other guns, I mean the other shotguns. So, these 2 shotguns are both good for different things. This gun is less damage, less ammo, and it has a slightly slower rate of fire than this one does. Slightly. It trades that for a higher stumble chance and a faster reload, which a faster reload you'll notice, but is immediately offset by the less ammo. Those extra 3 rounds that this gun gets completely offset the reload time of this being faster. Which, by the way, I actually have, thanks to the modifiers, the reload time on this gun is actually faster than it is on this one. I just want to mention that. By default, without add-ons. You also have close to the same range. This one's a little bit less damage. This is definitely a stumble gun. I recommend this as a stumble gun for Technician. If you like running the stumble build around your Technician, run this gun. This gun is very for popping a warrior once or twice to stumble them, and then you switch to a more rapid firing gun and just unload in their face. It's decent enough. If you don't want to run this gun all the time, you can run this gun. Now, the other 2 guns that I think are good, besides this one and its little brother, I think that the SMGs are balanced. This gun has a lot of spread, decent amount of damage per shot. It's more damage per shot than this one is. Slower rate of fire. It's a slower reload. It's less ammo. This gun is the better gun. I like this gun, though, because it feels like a mini rifle. So if you want to run a rifle in your close quarters slot, you run the submachine gun. It's essentially that. This gun feels like a true SMG. It's a very tight spread weapon. It's very long range accurate. The only damage is it's low damage per shot. And there's nothing you can do to get around that. Good reload. Good rate of fire. Good accuracy and control. Good backup ammo. Good weak point damage. It just doesn't hit that hard. You're gonna, basic runners are gonna take a couple of short bursts to put down. The higher up you go, the less damage it does. It's basically like a laser, like a surgical laser. It's very good at hitting tight, precise shots, and it does good on everything you need to, but it's not very damaging. Not damaging. Good gun, though. I love playing around it, even though it's low damage. It's a nice bullet hose. The flamethrower is pretty good, but you have to keep the flame beam on them because it's a continuous weapon. Except on runners. On runners, you can kind of like spray and pray them a little bit. Decent ammo pool. I wish the magazine size on it was a little bit bigger. I think 40 isn't right. Maybe 50? Even something as small as just buffing it up to 50, I think would help. Although you can do that with like the different magazine sizes and stuff like that. I don't know. I like this gun. It's good on phalanx in my opinion. I think it's one of the best close quarters options on phalanx. Although they have to rely on close quarters a lot. Here's the two guns I think are mediocre. This gun's alright. This is a tactical shotgun. So this is a semi-auto shotgun. It's low damage per shot. It's low rate of fire. However, that's low weak point damage. However, it has a tight spread, so it's better at long range than it is at close range. And it reloads all at once, as opposed to one at a time. So if you just need to pound out 8 shotgun rounds at close range relatively quickly, this is a better gun, because then you just reload and then another 8 rounds. The rate of fire on it's pretty slow. You will have to put rate of fire modifiers on it. It's a nice ranged option. If your other option is a long range, cough cough sniper, like if you're playing recon and your sniper is a long range, is your go-to long range, you can put this on as your close quarters weapon and be covered at close to mid-range. I would say it lacks punch at mid-range, it lacks punch at close range compared to other designated options, but it's a pretty good bridge weapon. It's very similar to this SMG, but in a shotgun form, where it's a good bridge. It's not great at close quarters, it's outmatched by the other shotguns and the flamethrower, but it's also better than them at range. This is the one gun I'm disappointed in. So this is a double barrel gun. It has to reload a lot. It has a very fast reload time on it, like blam blam, reload. Problem. The rate of fire on it's fucking slow in my opinion. I should be able to hammer that trigger. Bam bam, reload. Bam bam, reload. Bam bam, reload. No, there's a big delay on it. For a 2-shot weapon, that delay is a problem. It's like bam, 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 bam. I don't like that delay. It actually has a slower rate of fire than it does as a reload time. I get it as a balancing factor, but it makes the weapon impractical. Also, it is not highly damaging. This gun deals less damage than this gun does, and slightly more damage than this gun does, which fires faster and reloads faster in my opinion. I was very disappointed with this gun. I thought this would be a great gun for phalanx because you could just sit there with the wall and go bam bam, bam bam, bam bam. No. This gun is a huge disappointment in my opinion. It needs a damage buff to compensate. Like, this gun in my opinion should do the most damage per shot out of the shotgun class weapons. It should do more damage than the pump shotgun. All in all though, I think the close quarters group is the group that has the strongest weapons. I think all of these weapons do have a use in some capacity. I think this is the only real weak one. Whereas the handguns had a decent amount of diversity. They had 4 decent, distinct options. They do have 2 big stinkers that drag it down. Rifles are a problem. So the pulse rifle is the first rifle you get. It's a high rate of fire, automatic fire gun, decent damage per shot, decent weak point damage. I like this gun. It's an iconic gun. It does its job. It's just like the smart gun. It's versatile enough. It works in every situation. I recommend this gun. However, there's a problem. For automatic options, if you do not beat intense difficulty, which will unlock you 2 more rifles, you unlock 2 more rifles, 1 more handgun, 1 more heavy, and 2 more close quarters off of beating intense difficulty. Your only other automatic rifle option, they did introduce a new one, but we're not counting that yet because it hasn't been tested enough, is the Hellbrick, which is the second best gun in the class. It's a good automatic fire. It hits harder per shot, higher base ammo per shot. It has a better stumble. It's better stumble. I have an add-on, that's why this has a higher chance. I like this gun. I think this gun is a good gun. This is the recoil on it is a little bit harder to control than the pulse rifle. I do like this gun though. It's a solid alternate option. Here's the issue. You have a burst fire weapon, and then 4 sniper rifles. Yes, they're marksman rifles. They're not pure sniper rifles. They're sniper rifles. They're DMRs, designated marksman rifles. They're snipers. The burst weapon is not good. I don't like the burst weapon. I just wish this was like a... First off, it's a 4-round burst instead of a 3-round burst. I do not like that 4-round burst. Second off, the damage per shot is supposed to be higher, but you're going to miss 2 shots, generally, out of your burst. As a full auto, I find it easier to kill things with the pulse rifle, and I waste less ammo than the burst rifle. It does have higher ammo capacity. It does have a better weak point damage than the pulse rifle does. I just prefer the pulse rifle. I don't know. This gun feels very lackluster. I played the pulse rifle to start, because obviously it's an Aliens game. You come to play 2 weapons in an Aliens game, the pulse rifle and the smart gun. Well, guess what? This ain't no damn pulse rifle. It's trash. Now, when it comes to the sniper rifles, unfortunately, they all feel the same except for the Twilight. So you have the sniper right here. You have the ballista rifle and the scout rifle. So the scout rifle is a DMR. High damage per shot, slow rate of fire, slow reload speed, but good stumble, good weak point damage compared to these guns right here. So this is definitely I want to shoot less bullets but hit harder. The problem is the rate of fire is really small, is really slow on this. So it lacks that punch. If you're not hitting weak points and getting the massive damage. Now, here's where the issue is. If you like high damage per shot, low bullets, high stumble, high weak point, well then the ballista is the upgraded version. Yes, it has even less ammo. Yes, it has an even slower rate of fire. But it has a guaranteed stumble chance, it has much higher weak point damage, and it has higher base damage per shot. This gun is essentially the marksman's rifle, and relegates this rifle to being a training weapon. This is what you train on until you unlock this. And if you like this gun, well then this is the better option. Even less ammo, even slower rate of fire, even longer reload, but even more damage per shot, and even more weak point damage. And it really comes down to, in the battle between these 2 weapons, this weapon has higher max ammo than this one does, and this has an extra bullet, and it has a faster reload, and it has a faster rate of fire. This one just has better damage and better weak point. So if you're just like a crit machine and hit nothing but headshots, you're going to prefer this gun because it's just better for killing things. If you're just good with headshots, then you're going to prefer this because it's generally more useful. And if you can't hit the broadside of a barn, but you don't like automatic and burst fire, then this is your best option out of the 3. The issue is that this is half the rifle class. And they're snipers. In an Aliens game about getting bum rushed by aliens. Twilight. The Twilight is interesting. It kind of bridges the gap between the scout rifle and the pulse rifle. It's the highest rate of fire out of the DMRs or snipers. It's the fastest reload out of the group. And it has very good weak point damage. Its weak point damage is on par with this sniper. However, it's lower damage per shot. A lot. It's about half the damage per shot of the scout rifle, but it has twice the ammo, it has twice the rate of fire, it has a better reload speed, it has better crit. It still has a decent stumble chance, about 50% stumble chance. But this gun is the best sniper weapon because it can be fired rapidly enough and it has enough ammo to compensate if you need to rapid fire. If you are aiming for headshots, though, this gun does a very good job of that. This gun can be a one-shot headshot type machine. Here's the main issue. So all of the guns in the game, the starter gun that you get is the best gun in the game. There are some specialized options depending on what your loadout is. So your loadout should also be balanced. So like for Gunner, you can play pretty flexible on Gunner. For the demo, you really only have 2 options. You can run something that's good at close range, like the Smart Gun or the Volko. And then your other weapon becomes your boss killer, like a sniper. Or you can run something where this is your main killer, right? So you run like a pulse rifle, a burst rifle, DMR, halberd, and then this becomes something like the RPG or the grenade launchers. That's pretty much how you have to sync it up. Your technician has a lot of options as well. They can run like the Magnum here and a shotgun here. Or they can run the auto pistol here and a shotgun here. Or they can run a shotgun pistol here and an SMG here. Or a flamethrower here and a mid-range here. Like the twin burst or the hammer. I kind of like the flexibility that they have. It's just you have to know if you're bringing a long range, you need a short range. Or vice versa. The dock is intended to play around sniping. Your best option is not to do that. Bring the Magnum as your sniper of choice and pop on a fast rate of fire rifle, because this class doesn't do enough damage. They just simply don't. Same thing when you go to Recon. Recon is designed around sniping. I give it the DMR, give it something for close range, and just kill everything, because you have no damage. The Phalanx has a decent balance. I just personally prefer the flamethrower. I think I've settled as the flamethrower as my close quarters of choice for this class. So this is like my go-to weapon build here. It's not great, but it's good enough. I unfortunately think that as the game throws more new guns in, like for example, as DLC weapons, there's the Kramer and the Grupa, which are... the Kramer is a slow rate of fire, hard hitting. The Grupa is a burst fire designated marksman rifle. A lot of people love the Kramer, hate the Grupa. I probably agree with that. For close quarters, you've got the auto shotgun and the SMG. The burst SMG. Most people don't like it. The auto shotgun is a fully automatic shotgun. People love it. I probably am going to agree with that. You got a burst pistol, it's probably going to be terrible. And you've got the one-shot RPG launcher, which is probably going to be fantastic for, like, Praetorians, but that's about it. He also has a couple of new weapons as well that we can talk about. This one I haven't tested yet. This is the Eva laser. So it's an infinite ammo weapon that has charge time. Unless that damage per shot really feels impactful, which I don't think it's going to, I think this gun is going to be terrible. You have the heavy assault rifle. A lot of people have said they don't like it because it is so much recoil on this gun. I think it'll be pretty good, though. I don't know. I think this gun's gonna be alright. It's high damage per shot. I think it's gonna be like a higher damage, slower fire halberd. Of course, I don't know what the Kramer's like yet. So, I think it'll be alright. I think if you can control your recoil, like I can with the halberd and the pulse rifle, I think it's good. I think if you can't control your recoil, you're gonna hate it. The Pike seems like the best sniper in the game, because even though it's a one-shot sniper rifle, it just deals so much damage. Like, body shots should kill shit on this gun. That's how I look at it. I think if body shots kill shit with this gun's great. I think the biggest downside to this gun is going to be the fact that if you can't hit shots, like if you're rapid firing it and you're missing shots, you're fucked. You have to hit your shot or you're fucked. Last one is the minigun. Basically, it's a smart gun. It hits harder. It reloads faster. It has more ammo than the smart gun does, but it doesn't track. I think it's going to be a nice option besides the smart gun. I'll be interested to see if it competes directly with the smart gun. In terms of the attachments, I'm not going to make an attachment guide because there are so many. I generally think it comes down to personal preference. A little trick I will tell you is if you know how you like your gun set up, when you get new attachments, what you should do, go to your attachment screen, find out, let's say I unlock this, right? So I should just find out what type of attachment it is, and then go to the weapons and then edit them manually. Every time I get an attachment, I look and see, okay, so this is large optics, and I will compare it like this with all of the options, rather than waiting to equip that gun. I'll just equip all of my stuff on it now. Not gonna really do an attachment guide or anything. But yeah, for the non-intense unlock guns, and not including the 4 new guns, that's my thoughts on it. Your starter guns are the best guns for each class.